those who are from the hospital or those who are in the sector, healthcare for other patients also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next presenter is Dr. Sanjay Tomar. Sanjay Tomar sahab will speak on fire safety in hospitals. मैं थोड़ा सा डॉक्टर संजय तोमर साहब का प्रोफाइल पढ़ देता हूं. डॉक्टर संजय तोमर इज MBA, मास्टर्स डिग्री होल्डर इन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट, डॉक्टरेट इन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट. आई थिंक संजय ये हो गए. He has more than 25 years of experience in fire prevention, planning, fire ground and rescue operation. His area of specialization are application of remote sensing technology in fire service and disaster management. He has worked in Indian Railway, Delhi Fire Service and Delhi Metro Rail Corporation Limited. He visited many countries to a study of fire safety arrangement of metro rail network. He is a recipient of President Fire Service Medal for meritorious service. Dr. Sanjay Tomar, please you start your presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, all of you. I am Sanjay Tomar. Hope I am audible to all.
Yes, you are very audible. Please.
Yes.
So once again, good morning and welcome to this conference or this webinar. Today, the topic of my presentation is fire safety in hospitals and disaster management plan. I've been listening to these speakers before, and particularly Shri Srivastav ji had talked about the pre-disaster planning. So, and one of the speaker also spoke about the causes which led to these disasters. So I will present this presentation in three stages. In first stage, I will discuss major fire incidents in hospitals in India. Then I will talk about fire and life safety requirements of hospitals, and then I will discuss very few points of disaster management plan. Hospitals, as we all know, nowadays are the most hazardous places in the modern city due to their complexity and its super specialty function utility provided for the patients. It comes under the Group C institution building as per the subdivision of occupancy as per National Building Code of India. And there are various hazards. If hazard, I will describe hazard as a hazard is nothing but it has a potential ability to do harm. By its virtue of potentiality, it can do harm, but a hazard itself is not very risky if it is not coming in contact with the people. A very big hazard like a LPG cylinder can be hazardous in assembly building, whereas a very small quantity of thinner or a flammable can be very risky in case of a hospitals. So there are various risks and various hazards available at one places in hospitals buildings. Storage of various types of cotton leggings, beddings, storage of volatile and flammable chemicals, solvents used for dressings, toxic materials like hydrogen peroxide and various medicine preparation, gas hazards like LPG, CNG for cooking, oxygen, nitrogen and compressed cylinders. These are the hazards which are generally available in every hospitals. And as Shri Srivastav ji has said that metro cities are becoming haphazardly, and very unplanned settlements have come up in due to rapid urbanization, and people are now forcing due to land scarcity. We are going up and up. Earlier in this Loknayak hospital used to be very risk of fire was very minimum, but nowadays the multi-storied buildings are coming up, and the hazard as well as the risk in the hospitals are becoming greater due to they are available in the same building premises. Some of the other hazards are laundry, pantry and kitchens, biomedical waste, X-ray department, pathological lab, operation theater. These are the hazards which are available in the same premises. So we have to be very careful while planning. We have to identify the hazard. Again, we have to compartment those hazards, and we have to see the risk, and we have to carry out some risk assessment so that the hazard do not convert into a risk to the people. So we have to plan in advance so that the risk can be minimized. All staff, hospital staff should have knowledge of evacuation procedure and basic firefighting techniques. Now I'll take some of the examples of the past accidents which happened in hospitals. The Amri Hospital fire way back in 2011, where 90 people, including members of the staff, foreigners, and person of the other states died. As far as the causes of the fire and the spread of the fire is concerned, security staff tried to extinguish by their own with the help of available firefighting system, automatic sprinkler system, and gas flooding system not activated. Fire was confined. Fire was confined to the basement, but smoke spread to rooms and corridors on upper floors through air conditioning system. There was no natural ventilation as building was air conditioned, and smoke management system did not work. So all these causes, all these things put together helped the number of deaths to increase. Fire control room was involved at around 4:10 a.m. in the morning. Fire brigade responded, and fire personnel has to break glasses facade to rescue trapped persons and to clear out the smoke of the building. Then again, there was one incident of fire in Bhubaneswar where more than 20 people died. Fire began in the intensive care unit due to electric short circuit, and which spread to the other areas. We also had in past few of the hospitals fire incident, but fortunately there was no casualty. Metro Hospital, Preet Vihar, there was a fire in 2017, and more than 15 people were evacuated safely by Delhi Fire Service, and fortunately there was no casualty. AIIMS Trauma Center fire was also happened in 2019 in the evening. Fire was at the ground floor near Operation Theatre. Fire was timely controlled and quick and prompt action by Delhi Fire Service, and there was also no casualty. After that, there was a fire in Delhi AIIMS in the August 2019, but the fire was in the teaching block center on 17th August, but there was no casualty. We have seen that during this COVID pandemic, many hospitals or many hotel facilities are being converted into COVID facilities, COVID care facilities, and many deaths have also occurred in these hospitals. Shrey Hospital, Ahmedabad, the fire was started in the ICU in some electrical apparatus. This hospital was run by the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, and 8 COVID patients died in this fire. Another fire which took lives of the COVID patients was hotel turned COVID facility in Vijayawada. On 9th August, 10 persons died, and 30 COVID patients and 30 medical hotel staff were rescued by the fire services. Hotel did not have a fire NOC. So we need a fire safety plan which can provide reasonable level of safety by reducing the probability of injury and loss to life from effects of fire. And this is accompanied by limiting the development and spread of the fire. As I said earlier, that hazard is available in the hospital building all around us, but only thing we can reduce the risk by limiting the spread of fire to the room of fire origin. And by doing this, we can reduce the occupant evacuation from the room of fire origin. Fire safety can be divided into parts. One is fire protection and other is fire prevention. Fire prevention is nothing but it is the practice and culture we adopt. And fire protection, there are two kinds of fire protection. One we call as a passive fire protection, which involves the parameters of building, exit, access, compartmentation, and the exit with staircase, provision of staircase. An active system, we have detection system, and for all firefighting system like gas flooding system, sprinkler system. We will talk about that later. So concept of fire safety plan, all hospitals shall be designed. Primarily, it is the duty of the management of the hospital that the building of the hospital should be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to minimize the possibility of fire emergency requiring evacuation of the occupants. Proper design, construction, and compartmentation, adequate smoke exhaust facilities, provision of detection, alarm, and extinguishment, fire prevention planning, training, and mock drill are very important once the hospital comes into operation. Mock drill should also be conducted regularly so that the information or new hazards which are taking place in the hospital in the due course of time can be minimized. Now, prevention is better than cure. If we prevent fire, then we can save many lives. Combustible materials, we have to remove all combustible materials. We have to empty bins regularly. Electrical cables and wires shall be laid preferably concealed as per the designed electrical load. And we have seen in past that most of the fire incidents, the cause is the bad or the unstandardized electrical apparatus. So all electrical apparatus used shall conform to Indian or international standards. Prohibition on smoking. We have seen that many times people smoke or the patient's relatives smoke and they throw lighted BD cigarette here there, and the combustible material which is accumulated on the parapets or in the shafts got ignited. So we have to enforce the prohibition on smoking as well as all electrical apparatus should have a national standard. A study was conducted in Southwest Division involving 7 fire stations where we took the data collected and sorted out why fire is happening and what kind of a material or electrical apparatus is causing fire. So as per the statistics which I have given in this slide, you can see that the electric meter board, the all electrical total cost which is due to the electrical material or electrical apparatus or faulty electric meter board or loose wiring is accounted for 41% of the total fire call. These are the main culprits. You can see the pole wire, overhead wire, underground cables, transformer cables, electric meter board, electricity wire, and you can see the pattern remains the same over a period of 4 years. So we can say that conclusively we can say that if we have the electrical apparatus of the standard and we laid down the electrical cables as per the standard or as per the electrical load, and we take care of the electrical loads, then we can avoid this 41% of fire calls which is happening around Delhi. As far as passive fire protection is concerned, first one is the access, adequate passageway and height clearances for fire fighting vehicle to reach to the hospital, width of the entrance. Sometimes we have seen that the entrance provided is big, but they have put hoardings or boards over so that our high reach appliances could not reach to the place, and it took more than 30 minutes to clear all those obstacles. So this is very important that the entrance to the hospital or the height criteria which is required for fire for gaining entrance should be clear, and a clear headroom not less than 5 meters is required. For high-rise building which are above 15 meters in height, a hard surface motorable road around the building not less than 6 meters with a 12-meter turning circle shall be provided. Now, one provision is there in National Building Code 2016 that all critical patients and those incapable of self-preservation and having physical impairment shall be housed within 30 meters of height. That means that all critical patients have to be housed in a hospital below 30 meters of height. Fire protection. This is very important that an exit can be a doorway, corridor, passageway to an internal staircase or external staircase or to veranda or terrace which have access to the street or to the roof of the building. Am I audible?
आप ऑडिबल है डॉक्टर, बोलो बोलो, आप बहुत बढ़िया आवाज आ रही है आपकी।
Okay. So all exits shall be properly illuminated. Exits shall be so arranged so that they may be reached without passing through another occupied unit. Generally, after a hospital comes into operation, many new compartments are raised which block the means of escape. So exit shall not be altered or reduced so that the number of width of the means of escape should not be reduced. So any alteration we are doing in a hospital by making compartments or by putting something, we have to see that my means of escape should be unhindered and should not be blocked by making any cabin, etc. The requisite number of exits are based on the occupant load, which has been described in BBL as well as National Building Code, which is for hospital, it is 15 meters square per person. It should not be increased. Travel distance to be traveled from any point in a building to a protected escape route, external escape route, or a final exit. For hospital, it should not be more than 30 meters. And one more criteria is there, dead end corridor length. A corridor should not be in excess of 6 meters in length. The capacity of exits, it has been described how many persons can pass through a staircase or a ramp or a door, and the same has also been elaborated in table 4 in National Building Code. So we have to calculate the occupant load first, then we can design our means of escape, keeping in view the travel distance, dead end requirement, and travel distance. Number, size, and staircase of it. This is the main problem which is facing. Dr. Saab was saying that we are not unable to get the fire clearances. These are the codes which were applicable since from 1983. And as an enforcement agency, we have to only seek that those provisions which are there in the national codes or building bylaws are met. So all institutional buildings shall have minimum 2 staircases, number 1. This is a problem area for many of the nursing homes. And the width of the, and at least 50% of the staircase discharge directly to the outside or the exit passageway. Staircase, one more requirement is there, staircase from basement to terrace should be continuous. No electrical shaft or panel, AC duct or gas pipe, etc. shall pass through an open in the staircase. No combustible material shall be used for decoration, wall paneling in the staircase. Because staircase is the only means of escape which, if it is protected and if there is no opening, then you can be moved safely from the hospital in case of emergency. But if your staircase design is poor, if your staircase is not protected, then there will be difficulty, or generally there are chances that the door locking mechanism like door closers, etc., or fire door, if it is provided and door closing mechanism is not working, then there are chances that the staircase will become smoke locked and will render unuseful. There is also a requirement of corridors and passageway. Minimum requirement for corridor should be 2.4 meter wide. This is probably given in case of emergency. People can be put in the corridors or stretchers or with the beds. The width of the doors of the patient rooms, a slight relaxation has been given in this National Building Code 2016, where the single or double occupancy rooms width can be 1.25. Earlier it was 2 meter. Ward up to 3 to 5 beds is 1.5 meter. Earlier it was 2 meter. And if we are having more than 5 patients, ICU, recovery units, delivery rooms, the minimum height is prescribed is 2 meters. Compartmentation. as I said earlier, that in hospitals, as we are moving up and up, and there are no chances of compartmentation doing like earlier. I gave you example of Loknaik Hospital where different wards were connected through open corridor. Now it is not possible. Big high-rise building has been come up. So all floors shall be compartmented, zoned with an area if each compartment being not more than 750 square meter. If the building is sprinklered, then building shall be a compartment can be increased up to 1800 square meter, and the compartmentation shall be achieved by means of a fire barrier having fire resistance rating of 120 minutes. Exit access corridors at intersection of compartment shall be divided by a fire door having 120-minute fire resistance. Now, this is the safety criteria which is very important, and if we lack this compartmentation criteria in any of the hospital, then chances of fire getting spread to other areas, or smoke getting spread to other areas, and people are getting trapped in the smoke are higher. So a compartment is a fire-tight enclosure in which if it is a fire, there is a fire, people can be evacuated safely to other compartment which is not affected by fire or you can see that there are in a building, when we construct a building, there are floors and walls, and there are compartments. If we keep openings inside these compartments and we do not seal them, then fire and smoke from one part of the compartment can go spread to the other parts to the services. We call them services or openings. Different services parallelly run in hospital, like oxygen supply, electrical and communication cables and all these. So compartment has to be sealed properly, and all vertical and horizontal shafts have to be sealed properly with the fire rated material, 120 minute. Again, to check the spread of smoke in a building, smoke exhaust system should be provided. We should work properly. We have generally seen that the smoke system provided in hospital do not work at the time of emergency because they have been put in manual mode. They should be connected with the fire alarm system, and in most of the hospital when we go for inspection, we found that the relays installed to activate the smoke system have been isolated. So this is a very bad practice. All the systems which are put in automatic mode should work in automatic mode, because in case of emergency, either due to some maintenance problem, so this is a general tendency of the management of the hospitals that they put those problems away without doing corrections to those damages or those things. They cut the automatic mode and they put these essential services on manual mode. No smoke control. All exit passageway shall be maintained with integrity for safe means of egress and evacuation. Doors provided in such exit passageway shall be fire rated. Doors of 120-minute fire rating. Smoke control in the mechanical ventilation system shall be fire rated. This is the new thing which has come up in the NBC in 2016, and where we cannot do the smoke control system, we can apply another thing which is called pressurization. Pressurization is a technique of putting forced air into the means of escape, particularly the staircase or the means of escape corridors. Pressurization system where provided shall have a minimum pressure differential of 35 to 30 pascals in relationship to other areas. This means that when you apply, when you design this pressurization system, all kind of smoke will not be going into the staircase, will not be going into the passageway, but the pressure difference should be there. If this pressure difference is not there, then again the whole system will collapse. The pressurization system should be interconnected with the automatic and manual fire alarm system. As I said earlier, that most of the people put these devices in manual mode, which is a problem during emergency. Service shafts and ducts, I've already told you that it should be sealed at every floor and every compartment, fire-tight compartment. It should be sealed properly so that fire and smoke remains in the affected area. Now, many hospitals have come up which are having a large basement. Nowadays, OPDs and some laboratories and many more things have come up in the basement. So basement fire also very dangerous. Basement, all types of fire protection measures has to be applied there. The basement shall not be permitted below the ward block of the hospital. Each basement shall be separately ventilated. No cutouts to upper floor shall be permitted in the basement. These are the requirements. And basement, if provided, shall have type 1 construction of material. Again, I'm coming back to fire safety plan for hospital. These are the fire protection measures and active and passive. Once it has been provided, now what is your duty? What you are going to do? Identify the hazard. I have already told you that we have to identify hazard which can pose risk. Consider who has at risk. Patients are not familiar with the building. So we have to see that the all staff who are put in the wards have the knowledge of the fire protection arrangement provided, must have the knowledge of where the staircases are, where the next compartment which we can shift the patients. Determine what measures are needed and apply them. Better housekeeping to move sources of fire and combustible material away. This I have already told you. Review and update. Over a period of time, new hazards appear and control measures become less effective. This is very important. So we have to reassess the risk, reapply control measures and record the details. We have to review. It is not that once we make a plan and put it in the shelves and nobody is reviewing that risk assessment, nobody is doing the inspections of the premises. Whatever the changes which are happening in the hospital must be incorporated in the plans. So many new constructions come up. Many of the means of escapes are being blocked. Many of the new old almirahs and old furniture have been put up. Generally, we have seen that they generally put those things in the means of escape or alternate escapes. Appoint fire wardens to check all these things. Fire warden must receive technical and practical fire safety training so that they know how to prevent and fight the fire, because they are the first one to fight the fire. If they notice any fire, the best way is to contain those fire in the room of origin. Arrange maintenance and repairs. This is also very important. Depute a competent person. As one of the speaker was saying that there is no engineer. There is a utmost duty put up on engineers or the maintenance people, so that all the problems which start from the faulty electrical apparatus is being corrected regularly. All the electrical gadgets are checked regularly. Cables shall be laid as per the design load, because over a period of time we are in a habit of increasing the loads on the existing installations, electrical installations, which someday or the other would definitely lead to the origin of the fire. The other things which needs to be taken care are the fire doors, emergency lighting, firefighting equipment, kitchen appliances, equipment in rooms, plugs and sockets, because these are the minor things which can lead to the start of the fire. As I have told earlier that the 41% of the causes which start the ignition comes from an electrical apparatus or electrical installation. So we have to see regularly which are the areas which needs to be corrected. Now exit from any room and escape route shall not be obstructed. Notices, signs, communication equipment and extinguishing equipment should be visible and accessible. Many of times it has been seen that the fire hose cabinets are being blocked or painted, or some materials have been put up on those things and which are not visible in case of emergency. Train staff. This is the utmost requirement for any kind of a disaster plan or a fire safety plan, fire evacuation plan. You have to train staff. Make sure that employees know what to do in case, to learn sounds, how to sound alarms themselves. Because many times we have seen that nobody alarms the sound to evacuate others, to alert the others. In many hospital fire also we have seen, and many hotels fire we have seen that people who have the responsibility to sound the alert, did not sound the alarm, they did not inform the fire department in time, and due to this chaos, the early 20 minutes, which are very important for any emergency or a fire situation or a disaster situation, are lost. Fire safety training, hazard prevention methods such as good housekeeping and culture. We have to inculcate the safety of culture of safety in the occupants or the upper staff in hospitals. Training should include how to operate a fire extinguisher. This must be given. Every employee should know how to operate fire extinguisher, because many times we have seen that after 30 or 34, 35 or 40 years of service, they didn't have the knowledge how to operate a fire extinguisher, or did not operated a fire extinguisher in their whole of the life. Detection alarm system should be checked regularly. I've seen that when alarm is giving any problem, so management sometimes put the alarm or the alert alarm sounders on a off mode. Please don't do these things, because this will cost many lives in case of emergency. Plan fire routes. Escape route should be enable everyone to reach a place of safety during a fire, even if the fire blocks one of the escape paths. That means you should have the knowledge where your alternate staircase is available. If something got blocked, then you have to go with the other. Plan your evacuation strategy. No, there can be two type of emergency evacuation strategies. One is vertical and another is horizontal or progressive. For hospital, it is always advisable or preferred that a horizontal evacuation should take place first. Progressive evacuation strategy has been given in the National Building Code 2016 also. It is based on the evacuation from compartment to compartment and on the use of adjacent compartment as a temporary means of evacuation. Now that another compartment should be fire or smoke proof. If your compartment is intake, you can shift all your patients from the room of fire to another safe compartment. All compartments shall be divided with the self-closing doors, fire doors, and electromagnetic hold open devices, so that in case of emergency or in case of a fire in one compartment, those doors can be closed. As far as legal requirement is concerned, we have in Delhi Fire Service Act and Rules 2010. As per those, hospitals are covered under Rule 27(5). Institutional building have above 9 meters in height. Earlier, all types of hospitals in building bylaws, all types of hospitals, 1993 building bylaws, all types of hospitals are covered. Now a relaxation has been given that only those hospitals which are having height 9 meters or above 9 meter, having ground plus 2 stories, have to seek fire clearance from fire department. Otherwise, building parameters, building bylaws given in 1983 in Delhi, UBBL 2016 is there, and fire protection arrangement has to be made as per the National Building Code Part 4, Fire and Life Safety. We will come to the disaster management plan. The purpose is to provide response to external disaster situation that may affect hospital staff, patient, visitors, and community. It helps in identifying the responsibilities of individual and department in the event of disaster situation, and to identify standard operating guidelines for emergency activities and responses. These responsibilities should be written and practiced. Knowledge or any plan, we make a plan, we have to review that plan, we have to update that plan, we have to disseminate the information that it goes to every person involved in that plan, because in disaster situation, everybody counts. The disaster situations can be many. Natural disaster, the main are earthquake, flood, and cyclone, and on the other hand, we have made disaster like vehicular accident, riots, collapse of building, explosion, fires, CBRN disasters, food poisoning, gas leaks, terrorist attacks, and industrial accidents. So we have to be prepared. All hospitals has to be prepared for dealing with large number of casualties. And also, its own disaster plan should have the arrangement that if something happens, goes wrong in the hospital itself, then what are our duty, where to shift our patient, where to shift operation theater, where to have information desk. These are very important. Components, main component of the disaster management plan are preliminary examination and sorting to be done through triage. Priority has to be given who needs first aid, who needs most attention, and who needs operations. Brief documentation to be made attending to those seriously injured first aid to be given to all. Referrals to be made where necessary. Now, responsibility. There are many departments in a big hospital or like a big hospital. There are many departments and individuals. So, responsibility. Each and individual has the clear-cut responsibility in case of a disaster. He should be versed with his responsibility, and when disaster alert is announced, then nobody should have any kind of a confusion. These individual or departments are Chief Operating Officer, Director Medical Services, the main officers, Casualty Medical Officer, Nursing Staff, Security, Medical Store, Housekeeping, Administration, Food Services, Engineering and Maintenance, Emergency Blood Banks. These are the departments generally involved in any kind of a disaster and should have the clear-cut responsibilities. Hospitals can also have a command nucleus involving comprising of director, medical superintendent, HOD, emergency assistant, manager, admin, and nursing superintendent. Disaster alert code. This code is to be used for activation of the disaster plan. The team leader and members of the team are to be informed. On receiving the message carrying this word, all the staff should report for duty. The teams have to get prepared with the all necessary facilities. And disaster management protocol, we can have the information received, then CMO on duty will inform the command nucleus, and command nucleus will activate the code getting go signal from the command nucleus. CMO on duty will inform HOD emergency, and alert code to be announced 3 times every 30 seconds for 2 minutes. Now, chronology of the action plan. Initial alert, only the authorized person should activate the disaster plan. Hospital may be alerted from emergency itself by information over the phone through any person or police by government official. The police and the fire department need to be informed immediately. This I have already mentioned that the information to these external agencies is very important and crucial. Announcement to be made throughout the hospital. Doctors, nursing personnel, technicians, and administration staff residing in hospital can be alerted by siren. A siren can be put so that everybody in the premises listens to it and comes to the duty. Now, all HODs, representatives to assemble at a designated place, all departments to activate their established procedure to provide immediate and necessary support. HODs to be assigned key areas where additional staff is to be provided as needed. Existing hospital beds may be expanded by senior nursing official on duty. In the event of an additional requirement of beds, stretcher can be provided. Now, communication failure. If there is a communication failure, then we can use low-tech communications like runners, loud hailers, written notices, whiteboards. So these can also be utilized in case of emergency. Public information, that is very essential that we have. Public inquiry can be answered by setting a call center. We have a pre-designated, we should have a pre-designated space for information, public information. Because most of the time, it is being reported that no information is being given.
संजय आप कंक्लूड करते हैं.
Right. Okay. I'll conclude.
Yes.
Safe fire audit to be organized every 6 months. One tabletop exercise or a simulated mock drill, and we are doing it. We are doing it in Loknath Hospital and Ramanohar Lohia Hospital and many government officials. We are doing joint mock drill. Timely help is needed to reduce morbidity of the victims, and everybody should work together in dynamic team spirit to ameliorate the suffering of measures in the disasters. Thank you very much.
हेलो. आ जा रही संजय.
Thank you. Thank you, ji.
थैंक यू। अच्छा, थैंक यू डॉक्टर संजय। आपने बिल्कुल अभी जो पीछे झा साहब एक इंजीनियर मिस कर रहे थे, वो इंजीनियर अभी दिख गया इधर प्रेजेंटेशन में। बड़ा ही डिटेल्ड बात आपने बताया कि कैसे कितना लंबा कॉरिडोर डेड एंड नहीं होना चाहिए, दरवाजा कितना चौड़ा, बहुत ही बढ़िया आपने डिटेल में बताया संजय, थैंक यू। अब इसके बाद केवल एक प्रेजेंटर और हैं, डॉक्टर साहब जो कोविड पे बोलेंगे। इसी में जहां आपने खत्म किया इसको मैं थोड़ा सा और इसमें क्योंकि काफी टेक्निकल हो गया और मुझे लगता है कि ऑडियंस भी जो है तो काफी अब काफी टेक्निकल चीजें हैंडल करते करते थोड़ा भारी हो गए होंगे। तो मैं उन लोगों को कहना चाहता हूं कि आप लोग अपने क्वेश्चंस अगर चाहें तो टेक्स्ट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं और एक साथ ही हम लोग सारे क्वेश्चंस जो है वो लेना शुरू करेंगे। तो मैं सबसे कहूं